it's the bliss, that bliss, and it's here now, and we can't get to it until we go as it.
It's so hard for us to get out of our heads and drop into our hearts. And there again comes the music and the sound, or the gong. All of these tools that we have, the breath. But if you do...
Being in this flow state or this sense of oneness and the expansion of that to where we live more in that state and less in the disconnected, separate world.
You have the vibration of sound and the vibration of movement, maybe the vibration of prayer, the vibration of joy, the vibration of laughter, all starts kind of happening at one time, you know? And so it's like anything you touch then just glows a little bit.
In deep dish bliss, the now is your home. You're not in the past, you're not in the future, you're here. This can be edited, correct?
It can, yeah.
So we can take risks.
Oh, no, just take risks.
Are you worried he's going to say something inappropriate?
He always does.
We're counting on him too.
We are thrilled to have Dr. Love. Is this Dr. Love or Dr. Peace? I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend.
Same. All is one is all.
Does that include you as well? LARAAJI? Okay. So we have Dr. Love, Dr. Peace, LARAAJI, all one. Arji Oceananda. Yeah, we're really thrilled to be able to share in conversation with you all.
You look thrilled.
Yeah, act thrilled.
I am thrilled.
You are. Look, you lost a shoe. You were so excited.
I was so excited. I lost a shoe.
Lost a shoe. No one
I
has
think it
the
ran
same,
away with LARAAJI's shoe.
No one has the same footwear.
An
We
infectious
did it on
thrill.
purpose. Yeah. But we love y'all. We're so glad that you're here. And y'all, I do feel inspired. Hopefully I look inspired as well. So thank you for coming down.
I think you're so inspired. Both of your shoes disappeared.
Both my
and all
they
of
flew
your
off.
toes appeared.
I didn't even take them off. They flew off.
Well, I am contented to be here.
Arji, how do you feel about being here?
Absolutely gloriously delighted. I lost both my shoes.
Wonderful. Well, we have the privilege of both of you being a significant part of our Ayurprana Plus offerings at the moment, which is something that we share pretty readily every time we show somebody the platform. I feel like Sonic Baptism, which features both of you at the dome here, is one of the first things we show a lot of people. And one of my personal favorite things on the platform, I think, is your cooking show with Sneha, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And we also have almost the full library posted at this point of Celestrana,
Wow.
which is exciting as well. And we're in the process of filming this documentary that we've been working on for a while. So these guys are such a big part of what we are wanting to share with the world. So it's fun to sit in this forum together. He ate too many tacos. Is his belly hurting?
Eating on the third dimension, it's problems.
We all have those problems. That's what Ayurveda is really helpful for.
Yes.
If you eat enough, it becomes a fourth dimension.
So one place I thought might be fun to just kind of start the conversation is around laughter, which is something that I feel like you guys have really been able to change lenses on for people and show the spiritual dimension of laughter. And in that process, a dimension of spirituality that doesn't have to be solemn or serious, but that can be joyous. I feel like that's been something really beautiful that you guys have been able to bring. Will you just share a little bit about how that came about for the two of you, what it is for you today in this time that you continue to offer it?
Why don't I start?
Why don't you?
I think we both grew up in a laughing family, and TV, uncles and aunts and cousins. So laughter is just a default posture of family visit. Laughter just automatically happened. Not necessarily clowning around, but just laughing, talking about relatives. Around grade school, I liked laughter so much that I decided I tried to instigate laughter. I grew up in a government housing project, and there were a few hard individuals who could be softened with laughter. And so it was a protection. And I just liked the idea of seeing the human physique buckle over in laughter. And I developed an ability to write comedy. And in high school and in college, my sideline was comedy teams. So much so in college that I was inspired to go to New York and try out at the bitter end, which I did do. And that led me to move to New York and pursue comedy and comedy writing. My material was fashioned after the discovering what it is about me that people were laughing all the time. And usually they couldn't figure out my motives. So it looked confusing or dizzy, so I decided to write a comedy piece around me looking dizzy. And it worked. So the act was, the comedy piece I did was around, my fascination was with ugly women, that ugly women turned me on. And the ugliest woman I ever met was Sammy Mae Doodlebum. It was love at first shock. But it was simultaneously overlapping with my moving into metaphysics and studying the law of cause and effect and consciousness. And I sooner or later realized, hey, pretty soon I'm going to be attracting a lot of ugly women into my life. If I keep doing and do I want to take responsibility for that? And I said, nope. So, but it was also polarizing. So somewhere around 1972, 73, when I was really getting into metaphysics and mind science, comedy was softening out because of what I thought the polarizing intention with comedy at that time. And I dived into metaphysics and music. Somewhere around 1978, 79, doing lots of music and going to conferences with my music, someone introduced me to Rajneesh, a book called The Book of Orange Meditations. And on one page there was a suggestion of laughter meditation, where you wake up in the morning, or if you're a musician in the afternoon, you wake up, keep your eyes closed, do some stretches, and explore laughing for 15 minutes and do this for 7 days. And I thought, well, I never tried laughing in bed, lying down for 7 days. So I tried that. And I was impressed with where it took my speaking voice, how it opened up my appreciation of laughter in public places. And it empowered me to hold space for other people's laughter so that I don't inadvertently send messages or, negativity. It developed into a 5-minute workshop included in my music for healing. And the workshop, 5 minutes, developed into a workshop all of its own, sometimes called Laughter, the Best Medicine. And that was in the context of New Age conferences that were usually held in the summertime around college campuses. And laughter, I considered that to be a blessing. I no longer had to tell jokes. And I could get people into the laughter zone by encouraging them to laugh, or else. To laugh. And along the way, we like to say the biggest room in the house. You know what the biggest room in the house is?
Your heart.
The room for improvement. So the laughter workshop kept improving. And there was the Dr. Kataria from India who explored getting people to the laughter zone early in the morning before people go to work. It was Bombay, I think it was.
Yes.
And he put out a list of medically documented health benefits of laughter. And we took the list and we developed exercises, laughter exercises around it. And that improved the workshop. So now it can go for 45 minutes or 3 hours if it has to. And people around the world have laughed with us, and some have refused to laugh with us. So then people that we've met, that we've laughed with, we can see on an elevator somewhere and just start laughing, or see in a public place and start laughing. It has opened up my speaking and singing voice, and it has empowered my music performance, because laughter is playful. And also laughter is developed as healing performance art, developed around the infectious, contagious power of laughter, to include it in your performance. So I encourage musicians to include laughter in their performance. And doing laughter workshops is a way of bolstering up your laughter self-esteem, to own your laughter. How many of us are kind of question our laughter? We love it, but we feel if we let it out, it would bring back some negativity. So I say laugh, learn how to feel your laughter. And in the workshops, we get into changing the intentions of laughter. It's not maniacal,
Maniacal.
Maniacal, but there's something about lunatical.
Tickling.
I like that.
Like tickling.
I never thought of that. Lunatical. Yes. So that you move your laughter from being lunatical or unexplainable to laughter that is obviously opening your heart, or opening your lungs, or vibrating your massaging your abdominal organs, or moving your endorphins in your head. So a laughter that's body friendly to the body, so that when you're laughing out loud in public, you're including others, or the appearance of others.
And we encourage consistently the connection to inner child, and that's essential.
Yes, to play with your laughter.
Yeah, and to understand that we all have that inner child energy just wanting to come up, and sometimes it's kind of stuck, and sometimes it's just ready to explode. And so through the play shops, people tap into the inner child. We received a beautiful email, actually, yesterday, as a result of someone's experience in Knoxville at one of the play shops we offered. And her experiences, she said she was trying to explain to her family how it was to be amongst total strangers, lying on the floor, laughing and to the point of crying, and feeling so connected to almost 200 people in the space that she had never met before. And how her tensions and everything that had been stressing her for months just exploded through laughter and tears, and how she felt secure and given permission and safe to let that inner child energy come through. Because children will laugh constantly, and then they might cry, something happened, and then they're starting to laugh again. And that joyful connection to our inner energy is so healing, and we forget that it's even there to tap into it. So the laughter play shops allow people to access that in a very different way. As LARAAJI said, you're not laughing at a joke. You're not laughing at something visual. Actually, you're allowing your own inner joy to bubble up, because your own body loves the sound of your voice. Our bodies love the sound of our own voice. We have a sonic imprint that we forget that that's the most healing sound we can experience. So if you couple that sound with the joy of laughter, it allows for healing opportunities.
Yes, the sound of our own voice can startle people when they hear themselves recorded for the first time. Is that me? And one way of getting accustomed to your voice is to block your ears when talking, to get in touch with your bone-conducted sound of your own voice. But the spirituality in laughter, I've discovered, once laughing for 70 minutes to see where that would go. And it got finer and finer, and it became like a breath meditation. And at the end of it, I was very near to, if not in, Shavasana, deep relaxation. And when it's right, we'll introduce the laughter with 5 minutes of a crying meditation. Crying is very potent. To do a crying meditation, I discovered, one, that I get in touch with the anguish on the planet. I sort of get in touch with aggravation, inequalities, things that are going on the planet. And also, it empowered me to hold space for other people who are crying. Because before practicing crying meditation, my intention was to fix it. When somebody's crying next to me, I want to fix it. I want to hold them and say, don't cry, boo-boo. You want to fix it because you feel uncomfortable. And so crying got me beyond feeling uncomfortable of being in the presence of someone else who was crying. So preceding the laughter meditation with crying meditation when it feels appropriate is another aspect of an extended play shop.
But again, that's the key, the extended. I think that the first time we offered that was some years ago in France when we had people for 2 full days, and we took them through every stage of building into the connection to inner emotionality. That's where we had the exercise where we paired people off too, so one could feel the support of another. Yeah.
That was like the lullaby.
That's right.
Lullaby, singing lullabies and laughing.
But it extended. I'm emphasizing that because if anyone hears the crying part, they panic. And we don't do that in like a 60-minute or 90-minute, even 2-hour experience usually. It's in a more extended experience. And we give the disclaimer at the beginning, if we remember, of the laughter play shops, that to tell people, if you feel tears welling up and you don't feel laughter, don't feel you're doing it wrong. It's two sides of the same coin, and they're both just allowing your feelings to rise up for a cathartic experience.
I feel like as you were talking about how it kind of brings you into that childlike state where those emotions are all so
Yes.
close
Yes.
and flow so
Yes.
freely, all of these barriers that we have
Yes.
from our laughter, from our sorrow, from our
Wow.
emotions, it kind of just brings us into that childlike
Yes.
state.
I just,
The
you
first-
just helped me. You just helped me to make that connection. Playing with the inner child, and child can go from sunny days to a hurricane.
In a minute.
Within a breath. The first time I experienced it with you guys was integral yoga in New York,
IYI, yeah.
on the 6th floor in the room that Swami Satchidananda used to sleep in and when he was in town.
Heaven.
The building was given to them by Alice Coltrane. It's just a special place in the West Village. And that room was definitely charged. And one thing, I didn't really know what to expect. I'd never gone into anything like that sort of practice before. And the closest parallel I had to it was plant medicine experiences that I'd had, where one, the laughter and the tears are so close at hand, but you enter into this sort of transcendent state. And I feel like people, it's hard to understand that can easily, it's been a result several times, so I feel like I'm probably not alone in that for people having that kind of experience. And I feel like people probably don't understand that is some part of it. And I feel like when you're working with the music and if you've seen you do it with the gong, meditations, you're working through the chakras, you're laughing. Another part is you're not laughing at anyone, which I feel like humor in our culture is so much sarcasm or there's a butt of the joke. In this, it's just that childlike. And I feel like it kind of brings you into an altered state.
Yes, it's your ananda. It's connecting to that bliss state that is always there and untapped. And as we age, maybe that isn't the age so much as how we are impacted upon by externals, that bliss factor tends to be suppressed. LARAAJI has the most bubbly, his laughter is constant. Being around him so much, it's like within I mean, it's always there, where most people, it has to be brought up. And it's very gratifying to sit with people who at the start of a session are, your own description, Jeremy, of being at IYI with us, almost hesitant, like, what am I in for? What's going to happen here? And then at the end, the look on the face and the joy and the connection to others who they've never met before. It's quite a privilege to be able to witness that time and again, all over. And that's the beauty of it too. Having had the privilege of working with LARAAJI to offer these, Japan and Istanbul and Italy and Spain and Texas and anywhere that
Lots of different laughs.
but everything, but it's essentially the same. That by the time we approach the end, where we gather in a circle to Om together, you could be anywhere and everywhere, and it's all one. And it's the embodiment and the real presencing of the philosophy that we speak of, the oneness. It's not then just an intellectual exercise. It's very present then in people, and hopefully they carry it forward.
Yeah, I think that one of the magic things that y'all do is there's so many entry points into source or into that multiple dimension, and then why not laughter? Why not crying? Why not taking a dip in a cold pool? Or like, you know, like there's, and I think for so many people that have been in spirituality, they use these structures and then relying only on these structures. But I think laughter, or, you know, Jeremy and I see a healer here in Asheville, and she uses hypertrophic breathing, holotropic breathing.
Yeah, like
Did you say holocrapic?
Holocrapic. it'll make the crap fly out of you, like, and she makes you do it for an hour, and you're laughing, you're crying, and tears, and the ceiling starts swirling. And you're like, man, I'm totally sober. Like, why is all this going on? But you're laughing, right? I mean, a lot of times and the laughter from that breathing,
crying.
you're crying, but you're laughing at some of the most quote unquote dark stuff, and you're just like laughing at it, you know? So there's something about the laughter of the human condition that is some of the most therapeutic spirituality on the face of this planet, you know? So I'm glad that so many different people now are starting to have different access points into spirituality, whether it be music or Dr. Love, you know? Like Dr. Love is the access point into spirituality, and that the austereness or the orthodoxy, people usually relate to it, I think is, it's nice to have a different entry point.
I'm glad to hear that you two have explored the holotropic breath work, because I did a 10-day immersion with Stan Groff years ago, and it was totally powerful and transformative. To get to where you can get with nothing other than your breath is extraordinary.
It's extraordinary.
It's empowering, it's humbling, it's everything at once.
It was shocking for me the first time. I didn't think you could do that like that. At least not without like 10 days of Vipassana meditation where you're like...
This was in like an hour, probably 30 minutes into it. Yeah. And I call her our spiritual therapist. So we both see her. She's a really good friend of ours.
How wonderful to have that.
So the biggest room in the house is what?
Room for improvement.
Yes. So the latest improvement with the laughter is an exercise is to imagine. Have you received a massage lately?
Yes.
Do you remember what massage feels like?
Yes.
How good it feels? And when you're doing massage, what are you doing? You're unloosening the kinks, you're establishing flow, you're making warm connection, loving, nurturing. So what if we use our laughter to massage our breath? Just play with that. If you can play with that. And try it on the inhalation too. This is like welcoming breath into your presence, you're laughing your breath in. That's kind of awkward, isn't it?
It's challenging.
It can put a new perspective on laughter that translates to your body too. Your voice suddenly becomes a massage, a masseuse. Is a masseuse?
A masseur or a masseuse?
Masseuse, so that your voice eventually transfers to the body. Massaging your body with your voice, your big toe. Whoa. Hey. See, it depends on your imagination. A childlike imagination could get into it. And if you do it long enough, persistent enough, something starts to happen. Your voice becomes a newer instrument that you can talk to people. Hey, Gucci Gucci. And this brings me to the idea of feeling, using voice to feel. And we think of moving beyond familiar feeling into what I call cosmic feeling, or feeling the light body, which brings up Dr. Love. So there's a feeling, let's say, if I wanted my voice to map out this room. Can you do that? Can you just acknowledge this room and its dimensions with your voice? And we take this up into the cosmic realm. Dr. Love, situated in, we call it fifth dimension or the etheric field, can sweep the field. This is probably what children are doing when they're so relating within an expanded sense of space-time. And while doing that, the linear function of mind either shuts down or takes a little holiday, and you're left with just pure I am. There's no thinking. And so that mind is directly engaging this absolute field or timelessness or the unified field. In that space, if you do it, if I do it, information starts to flow. You get a different sense of information. You get to sense eternity, the unity of all things, the dominance of the now, the present time. So Dr. Love is a model of what we might be able to do if we want to play with hand puppets or grab a sock and play with extra sensual feelings or extra spatial feeling and sweep the field. When we ask Dr. Love a question and Dr. Love brings it from the fifth dimension or the beyond, the language that Dr. Love brings through allows me to mentally grasp it and bring it into the linear dimension. So if you want to ask Dr. Love a question right now, or if you don't want to ask Dr. Love a question.
Dr. Love, I feel like you exist outside of time and relate to time as a way of bringing this three-dimensional body into other dimensions. How is time used in that way, and how can we approach time to bring us out of time?
when you are thinking linearly and you are thinking past and future, you're in linear time, and you're going to or you're coming from. That is, you want to stop going somewhere, to sort of stop getting on the bus that goes to the future or the past. If you get on a thinking vehicle, you've got to go where it's going. Now, if you got to get on the bus with the flat tires. So, and to come to timelessness, you don't come to timelessness, because to is linear. You don't come from timelessness. You don't go around timelessness. You don't go under timelessness. You go as timelessness. So this is a trick. That's how do you stop going toward the light and proceed as the light? Stop going toward greatness and proceed as greatness. Deep relaxation, whether we call it shavasana, your own form of meditation, a quart of Jim Beam, whatever. Holy Jim Beam. But the idea of relaxing so deeply, the toes, the legs, the arms, become so relaxed that you have your corpse pose, or the cadaver, which has no agenda. You're relieved from the agenda of your linear selfness. And in that place, we assume that yoga, the intention of yoga is to bring us to a place of spontaneous meditative awareness. And hopefully, you're not in linear time. The awareness is suddenly aware of a circumference-free space.
Transcendent.
A futureless, timeless space, a continuous now, that we may observe that the only eternity is this moment, the sustained now. And we might think that eternity is going somewhere 100 years from now and get back, wow, that was eternity. But eternity is actually this moment. And when we go to the pure mind, the mind that isn't involved with linear thinking. So it might be the I am, instead of the I am a doctor or I am a bus driver. It's just pure I am, is able to be with just continuous present time. So to answer your question, how do you get to the timelessness or the now? You don't go to the now. You stop living the now. You remain as you are. There was a teacher once, whether Jesus says, as I go up, I take all beings with me. You ever heard that phrase? Mm-mm. It's kind of mystical, but it simply, if I drop into the zone, I'll notice the zone is everywhere. And I see civilization may be unconscious of the zone, but I'm also seeing the zone is where everybody in the universe is. And so, you could almost say it's a private universe. You see a singular, you see a oneness with this mind, this I am, and feeling it. So there is the feeling aspect. Feel how to feel the eternal, how to feel the unified field, how to feel the oneness pervading the all space. And as Arji mentioned, it's the bliss, that bliss, and it's here now, and we can't get to it until we go as it. And the as is the big trick. How do you go as? When you go as, you're it, you're here. And you don't have a future or a past in the eternal now. If you go as the now, you say as. If you're in your as, all the way in your as, you have no behind. You have nothing in front of you, nothing behind you, because you're the unified presence. Now, this is an awesome realization. Some can trip upon it by accident by using substances and don't know how to verbalize it, don't know how to integrate it.
Or how to return.
So that's the big thing now in integrating these experiences. How do you integrate where you've just been? Because linear language may can point toward it, but you say, wow, you know where I was? I was just, wow. Wow is a good way of saying it. But how do you integrate this extra sensual, extra spatial sensation? And the light body is one way of saying that you've accessed your light body, or you've accessed the etheric field or the pranic field. And what kicks in is your intuition and your senses, your sentience, your omnisentience kicks in, and you see things that you couldn't see before. You hear like you couldn't hear before, and you feel omnispace. So there is the love. There is your permission for love. You don't have to love Joe and Henrietta, because you are the awareness of the all-pervading love. And you can just access the love and address the love everywhere that you are. Boo-boo.
Boo-boo. I just want to make sure I understand, because I think it's very profound. So when non-linear language, or when we go outside the realm of normal language, it frees us to enter into space. When we go outside the realm of systematic dancing, but let's say it's just dancing, then we go outside the realm. And I think in this dimension, to do things that break convention helps us slip into that state. Is that in the ballpark, maybe?
Dear Bushino was wrong, great. Yes.
It's powerful.
Let us assume that we have receptors, or we have a dormant memory of ourselves as being infinite and eternal, and that linear language doesn't help us to access that memory. Another kind of language, that's where we might look suspiciously at the language of Sanskrit, other languages. Or if you practice Sanskrit long enough, you might trigger your own language that it connects you to a space, and you know there's no real linear language for it. It's just a language of feeling, a language of intuitive merging. In
music.
Music, tonal language, luminous language. So that taking us outside the familiar, the linear familiar, with either called new language, inventive language, maybe scat was, jazz scatting was part of the campaign to liberate the mental from familiar languaging and to allow us to access a more expansive emotion flow. Once again, when I talk about the light body as spaciousness, that we dao tish togomata dagung gashada yutugu immersing in the light body, immersing as the light body, as the light body, then what comes up is light body realism. And light body realism, we are accessing infinite present time. And the affairs of the carbon-based electromagnetic life form body, that agenda is relaxed. In the case of the corpse pose. Hopefully the corpse is cooperating. So in the corpse pose, you are lying on the floor, your breath is relaxed, your emotional body is relaxed. You've hopefully listened to some spiritual quotations that relax you. Your physical body is relaxed. And so your awareness space is freed up. And whether you call it going beyond the linear mind or before the linear mind or in the midst of the linear mind,
I think there has to be almost a kind of a red flag warning too, that people don't get too caught up in the teaching as LARAAJI, as you said, it's profound. So what's the purpose of the laughter, if we go back to that, is to disengage from analytical thinking mind, trying to understand all of this. So sometimes the rhetoric confuses people more than the experience. So in the play shops, for example, even when we would do them for hours and then have people return the next day for a second segment, this wasn't the discourse, because it could get them out of their feeling space back up into the head. So it's all, it's dropping out of the head. So it's kind of a paradoxical. It's, our mind wants to hold on to something that is being said here because it's so profound sounding and engaging, but the experience is where it's at. And that, and again, the many things that LARAAJI shared there that are gems, the individual experience, like the woman who wrote us, that her experience, she could not express to her family what she had experienced because they never experienced it. But what she experienced in a short time by releasing her thinking mind was these many spiritual levels where she felt connected to a room of 200 people that she had never met. She saw some of them later on the street and they came up to her and put their beads on her neck. So this feeling, it's so hard for us to get out of our heads and drop into our hearts. And there again comes the music and the sound or the gong. All of these tools that we have, the breath that you experience in a half hour of holotropic breath work, it's extraordinary. These are vehicles to cut through the thinking mind, which is linear oriented. We don't want to, so we fall in love with hearing this wonderful languaging of an answer, but what we really are seeking is the inner experience. And that's for me at least where it's at.
I think one of the most present explorations in my world is this dance between being in this flow state or this sense of oneness in the heightened moments of meditation or in some sort of, heightened state, and the expansion of that to where we live more in that state and less in the disconnected, separate world, and the navigation between the two, being in the flow state and then experiencing obstructions in the flow, and from that flow, how do you dance between them? Like, what is the process as you become more immersed in the flow state?
Practice, discipline. You might even say it requires a decision on letting your lifestyle or your life flow shift to accommodate this as a priority. There's the famous response, I don't have time to meditate, or I don't have time to do my spiritual work. There are other priorities. And my sense is that they aren't your priorities. They're your body's, there's your temporal identity's priorities. And they're overshadowing your eternal responsibility to your eternalness, the self that precedes this physical incarnation that will survive it. Hopefully, that our understanding is that there's one consciousness, and this consciousness is eternal, it's continuous, and that we are individualizations of this right now. We're clothed in earth suit, earth body, and some of us might wake up suddenly for 10 or 20 minutes and get a whiff of the transcendental selfness and says, what is this? Where has this been all the time? Who am I really? This might be the gift of a teacher that'll zap you, or you might be just driving down the road and you see a Coca-Cola sign that has a refreshing taste is now coming over you, and you suddenly coincide with your epiphany. Something reinforces it. But the decision to make it a practice, I think, is the big thing that I can talk about it. Artists, spiritual practitioners, yogis, yoginis, people who have made it a practice, a lifestyle, they're not lost from this. The person who has a 9-to-5 job, or perhaps the person who's just become a mommy or a daddy, and they're overwhelmed with that responsibility, and there's no way can I meditate. So how do you address someone in that place that they can't make it their flow state? They don't know how to, they're not equipped to stay in a flow state. So what you've just said, how I hear it as an artist, is that I've made it a priority to access the flow state, to drop into meditative alignment often, and to actually monitor my associations so that I'm free to access this inner place. And there are workshops that I've done inviting people to experiment with hand puppets to help to integrate the flow state and to draw them into an altered state of present time. The practice, you have yoga all over the planet now, and hopefully their instructors are allowing their participants to go into Shavasana, where they're accessing deep relaxation, and hopefully they're stumbling upon something bigger than their personal identity. And to integrate that, the holographic work is one way of opening itself, you said, to a place you didn't know was there. Surprise the crap out of you. Holy crapic breathing.
Holocrapic breathing. Not breathing.
Yes.
Breathing is a whole different thing.
And as Arji said, words can get in the way. And sometimes I wonder, what are the values of words? They either can touch someone who's already in the experience to let them know that there are other beings on the planet. And you can hear in between the words what they're pointing to. Mm. And there are other people who might hear the words and get more confused. I remember growing up and hearing spiritual jargon. It was so mystical. The kingdom is close at hand. I and the Father are one. I said, well, I guess that means something. But it wasn't until I got into deep meditative practice that all of this made sense. And these sayings aren't talking about some far-off situation in the Himalayas. They're talking about the self that's behind this temporary body form, in the midst of this temporary body form. You are the Bible. You are the emerald tablets. You are the way, the truth, and the light. Ow!
Wow, baby. Yeah, I I've been experimenting a lot for the last year or two on meditating with my eyes open, and meditating like dancing or singing or whatever the case may be. And it's just, I think it just starts permeating then into your entire day, as opposed to when you were in a structure. It's been like so life-altering for me, and I'm relating a little bit to what you're talking about.
An ecstatic dance is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're very present.
Yeah.
And you're not sitting, and your focus is is encompassing everything in that movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vibration of sound and the vibration of movement, maybe the vibration of prayer, the vibration of joy, the vibration of laughter, all starts kind of happening at one time, you know? And so it's like anything you touch then just glows
Yeah.
a little bit, you know?
There's an exercise that Stan Groff, who's the founder of holotropic breath work, does when he's doing retreats. And I've seen it used and experienced it in other forms. It's so basic, it's so simple, but it's confirming of what LARAAJI hit upon, that sometimes, again, words, as we've said, get in the way. And he has, you pair up with someone and you sit as close, like you allow your knees to touch, whether you're both in a chair or you're cross-legged on the floor, and you let your hands rest in each other, and you hold each other's gaze. No sound, nothing. You just hold each other's gaze, and it's extraordinary what happens. The tears, and then sometimes the laughter, but this immersion in wordless connection connects you to an energy field. We were 300 people at Omega Institute filling that whole place, but first you're connecting this way, and then you're connecting circularly, and then you're just totally in the field, and not a word has been spoken. It's all accomplished through just presencing, and that to me was a remarkable experience, and something I think I wish we would do that actually in our longer workshops. Take the time for that, but it's a good half-hour commitment to do just that.
We've been talking about laughter. Why don't we just demonstrate a little bit of it, what we're talking
Yeah.
about it. The laughter sizes, one involves recognizing the pineal and pituitary gland, and that it sits in the center of the brain on a bone that's shaped like a butterfly.
The sphenoid.
The sphenoid bone. And so we can send our voice into our head intentionally. Massage your brain with your voice. Move the sound around.
Set an intention and focus on that point.
Now, before we laugh it, you can listen to your brain. It's probably asking a question. Who dat?
Who dat?
So the brain now is vibrating, is aware that we're aware of it, and we can let that tone become a brain-specific laughter. It called for being creative. And just to make it more fun, we're going to play with our water body while doing this. Maybe your brain wants a gentle laughter.
Touch that third
Maybe a
eye
rhythmic
area.
laughter.
Bring your focus to the third eye.
Maybe an arrhythmic laughter. You notice how much of our focus is inward now, into the body. Then there is
Heart.
the what? The heart.
Yeah.
The heart, yes. If you think of laughing the heart,
Place a hand on
think
your
heart.
heart space.
You
not
want
on
to
your
think more of a gentle, compassionate tone. A tone of feeling that a peaceful tone.
How you
Send
like your heart
your
treated.
voice goes through your throat into your chest. Already I feel many of us do this when we speak with our children or a pet animal.
Can you feel that vibration?
If I
Mitesh is vibrating
So
right out of
here
his
we
body.
are in tone. So, and we can let this tone become a heart-specific laughter. Ooh. So we're vibrating the heart with our laughter. Now, just think if you're hanging out with this 15 minutes a day, you're introducing a positive psychological event into your body. Your voice is actually acknowledging areas of your body. And if we come to the
Let's go back up to the thyroid.
thyroid, an area on
A
the
gland
throat.
around the throat.
Gland.
Yeah.
And then the water body.
And why the water body, LARAAJI?
Why the water body? It's loose, it's fluid, it's
And
open.
it's what we're made of.
Oh yes. A large percentage of the body is
Over
of
80%.
80% of the body is water.
So we're
It's a
giant water
flow,
balloons.
fluidity.
And you can feel that vibration in your hand.
Yeah.
And so you're stimulating the thyroid, and the thyroid gland needs that
No, the
caress.
thyroid is a groovy gland, and
It
we
is a groovy
vibrate it.
gland. It
Vibrate
is.
it.
It is, and we have a lot of thyroid issues in the Western society. So putting some loving attention and
Yes, after our
energy.
laughter campaign, we're going to reduce the level of thyroid issues on the
That's
planet.
right.
The pharmaceutical industry will come after you.
Yeah, they have. The threats
We'll-
have been made.
We'll give them a
Stop
free laughter
laughing with your
workshop.
thyroid.
Actually, there is a campaign to stop laughter. That's what I think of it. Although in school systems, there's a campaign that your substitute teacher on the first day of the substitute class, you don't laugh with your students. You don't, because you want to establish
Order
a
and-
rapport of
Dominance.
rapport.
Yeah,
And I would
dominance.
imagine that the President of the United States giving a State of the Union address is probably encouraged not to laugh.
I think it depends on who's in office.
That's right.
But the idea
And when?
that the thought that laughter can disrupt, it can disrupt your sense of connectedness to an established order, because you're letting go, you're letting flow, you're opening, you're being free, and your mental process is not holding on to a linear thought that I should do that way. So the campaign against laughter is, in some cases, useful to keep a certain kind of order.
Well, then,
So then there is the lungs. You're releasing a lot of toxins from the lungs during laughter. And it's in yoga, there's a lion's pose and a Vastrika, where you
but if you do,
and you get to a place where you no longer have toxins in your body, then you're just freed up, and you can. And yeah. So that's releasing from the
alveoli.
alveoli.
The alveoli in the lungs. They're
Yes.
the little grape-like clusters that filter the toxins.
So if you're hanging out 15 minutes in the morning or afternoon with your laughter internalized, loving your physical body to life, to laughter, love yourself to life, then you can bounce around your life for the rest of the day. Your laughter is more accessible. Your smile is readily available. You become a connoisseur of laughter in public places, and perhaps your laughter intention is translating into the way you dress yourself, into the way you interact with people. So there it is, the laughter explosion.
I think that the laughter experience completely lifted Mitesh into his light body, straight out of his water body, straight out of his earth body, into his light body, where he's still with us laughing, but we can't see him.
Yes.
We could honestly, to be transparent, address the objections to laughter, if there are any objections to laughter, that it
Disruptive.
disrupts the sense of hierarchy. I saw that in Japan.
Decorum.
Yes, decorum. It
Yeah, in Japan.
confuses your enemy. It what did it?
It's
Well, it shouldn't. If you do these exercises totally, your laughter should take on a new sense of intention. That you're laughing your heart, you're opening your body. It's radiance, it's celebration, it's euphoria.
and when it's sincere like that, it's contagious.
Well, this sort of laughter, I feel like, is uniting and connective.
Yes.
Whereas laughter can also be used as a form of dominance.
Yes.
It can be used to ridicule, to less than,
Ridicule.
to lift yourself above someone.
Sarcasm.
But this is the opposite of that sort of laughter. I
Yeah.
feel like this is a laughter that dissolves boundaries. That
Dissolving boundaries. Ooh, yeah. And still, there's a residual sense that laughter is peripheral. It can be put on the back shelf, or it can be left to spontaneous occurrence. Whereas we are suggesting you may want to think of making it a daily practice.
And intentionality.
It's medicinal, it's footsteps into and as a meditative alignment. Health-wise too, you're managing stress and tension and anxiety.
you know, after maybe the last laughter workshop that I participated in with you all, I have a infrared sauna in my house where I
nice.
kind of finished
Infrared
Sauna.
It's like
you
a
mean
little
sauna with an infrared light.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There
like a little.
is
We call it the
heat
hot
there.
box. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's like a small, it's like an elevator basically that just
For
gets
one
really
person?
hot. One, yeah, maybe two. We
Or
can kind of squeeze
two
in
Very close
two-
people.
two intimate people.
Or several Dylans.
But I was practicing the laughter meditation, and I think the absurdity of me laughing by myself in this little
sauna.
box in the middle of my basement by myself fueled it on, and it was really, I felt the cleansing of it. It's a powerful practice.
Could we ask, were you remembering to sculpt your internal body with your laughter?
Sculpt your internal.
Sculpt, you mean,
Focus on.
yeah,
different
focusing
parts
on
of
your
the
inner body
internal.
with your laughter.
I think I was focusing pretty intently on my heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just feeling the opening there and intentionally moving energy in that direction.
Yeah, one of the, you were saying objections. One of the objections is that people are told from young age, from children, that laughter is frivolous, or stop laughing, or I'll give you something that, or stop laughing, that's not funny. That kind of admonition that laughter has a negative connotation and that it's not important. So you have to break through that, first of all, and be willing. That's such a beautiful example. See, it hit you how almost absurd it was, and so you probably were
Laughing more,
uncontrollably laughing to
Yeah.
thinking, oh my God, this is crazy, and laugh.
I was.
Yeah, I've been there. It's so cool. Yeah.
Yes, when you want to focus on a solemn atmosphere, serious, and then laughter tends to distract us from our intention. The power of being solemn. There are places to be solemn.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes.
And in fact, laughter would be there it would be disruptive in a very unhealthy way.
Yes. So this brings up, sometimes we don't want to call it laughter. I mean, we call it euphoria,
Mirth,
celebration,
joy,
mirth, joy,
your bliss.
ecstasy, or bliss. And bliss, I believe, can be accessed anytime, even in a solemn situation. There's no reason to exclude your fundamental identity, if we call it bliss, from any situation in life. And if you can manage it in a funeral, and you still remember the underlying frequency of reality, if that's your belief, that bliss is a continuous life presencing. But you also are empathizing with the people at the funeral.
Could get awkward.
You're awkward.
Yeah, like if you're, whoa.
In the case of an Irish funeral, I think they celebrate with drink and dancing.
Well, but you
stories.
first start with wailing.
Wailing?
Oh, there's a lot of tears and wailing.
Oh,
and,
that's like our
you know,
laughter workshop preceded with crying.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. So it starts with the intensity of the release of the, oh, no, 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 kind of, and then you move into the celebration.
Yeah.
I feel like that bliss and that strong connection to source, as it moves through the body.
I like what you just did.
Yeah, I
I
do
mean,
too.
watch what you just did. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, as it moves through the body, I feel like it cleanses the channels of the body in different ways. And that can look like laughing, it can look like crying, it can look like bashing. Like it can go through so many different phases depending on where we're stuck or where that energy needs to move in the body. But when the bliss, when that strong, pure, energetic moves through the body, it cleanses us and washes us. And laughter is a profound way that can happen.
I've noticed in my travels that the word bliss is not easily understood in all parts of the planet. Sometimes joy is happiness. I don't know. Happiness can stop and start. Bliss has no ending or beginning, and when we contact it, we contact the self that never had a problem, that never had a loss, that never had bliss, continuous bliss, sort of neutralizes the sense that you've had a difficult life. You see your life in a different light. You know, you see that you were struggling then because you were very attached to the physicality of your existence. But in deep dish bliss, the now is your home. You're not in the past, you're not in the future, you're here. Like I said, you don't have any behind. When you're totally as bliss, when you're totally in the asness, as Ramana Maharshi, be as you are. You're totally as that what appeared to be your past and the drama of the past is reframed.
But to be in that bliss, if you think of bliss as sustained continual joy, energy of bliss, sometimes it's almost intimidating to people when they hear that because they think, oh man, I can never do that. So it's important to be, I think, careful of meeting people where they are rather than going beyond where they're capable at that moment, because that comes in with the practice, as you say, practice, making a priority to practice, because without practicing, I'm sure there are those who can go from 0 to 100 just like that, but most people need to be brought along and gain confidence that they can achieve it. Sometimes I worry that if they hear too much of the language that is of a higher nature and they've never been exposed to the teachings, then they could go the opposite way and feel like
Shut
I
off.
can't do it.
I think especially when you're around people that materialize and dematerialize, it
Amazing.
can definitely intimidate people that it takes
Amazing.
years of
I learned from
practice and intense
I learned from
sadhana.
Dr. Love. I went to a different dimension. Sorry, y'all.
Dr. Love can know that bliss is all pervading. It's where everyone is right now, and can address that with an aggressive languaging. And at the same time, be mindful that where bliss is, there's a civilization of human beings who are working out their personal incarnation. And I guess your very high masters can be in your presence and know and see the bliss where you are, and either address it directly, and some call it Shaktipat, can touch you without using language. You may have a little uplift from there, something you didn't know could happen, or a place that you didn't know consciousness could go.
One thing we were talking about yesterday was your reasons for living in New York City and whether you would ever consider moving somewhere more rural, more quiet. And you said you can be of much greater service living in the city setting. And I'm curious if you could just talk a little bit about living in service to that bliss, and that you,
So we have a phrase called walking in the peace garden, which means being conscious and conscious alignment with, the conscious connected with source. And Tai Chi Chuan is one practice. There are other practices where you can integrate this expansive self-knowingness into your body. And the way you walk down the street, or the way you take the stage, or the way you pour a cup of tea, especially in the Japanese tea ceremonies, this grace that can be there. And I've been on a subway car where a fight might be breaking out at the other end. And at my end, the passengers are getting nervous, and I'm just break into a Tai Chi that sort of balances or distracts from the intensity of the drama going on someplace else. And I leave my apartment building at times to go to the subway, which is a block up, and I'll get a voice that says, no, take the long way out and just radiate the rest of Harlem with your orange. And I'll walk down. And part of me was, but I got to get there now. And then I remember the service part. There's quiet ways of doing service, being present, and performance is always a way of projecting and sharing energy. So living in New York, more people to be exposed to. So many people see the sun colors. One lady in my neighborhood has nicknamed me Tangerine. Hey, Tangerine, what's happening? And people recognize the orange. So, and I believe that psychologically, when people see the color, mentally they'll go, there's orange. And the word orange contains the sound aura. So they're subconsciously integrating aura as a light suggestion toward light. And that suggestion is also in the word Torah, Quran, orange. So there is a subliminal service.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much. I feel like we could go on and talk for a long time, but I know, Dr. Love, you've got other realms and dimensions to attend in service. But yeah, we just love talking to you guys so much, and love you both.
Dr.
so
Love
much.
got a hot date.
With a pig.
What would be a hot date for Dr. Love? The eternal present time.
We do love you both and your whole community and this amazing opportunity. Really, it's like it is a family experience whenever we come to Asheville. It's just beautiful. Thank you.
Dashmat Bhargemi Toshimoste.
Touching mustache?
Word.
And that will be the final word.
Like Baba Ram Dass said, we're each walking each other home. We're walking each other home. Yes.